So for a few years now, every couple months, we've been going through, when it's almost balance patch time, going through monsters in the current meta and deciding which monsters probably need to get buffed and which monsters probably need to get nerfed. Not too many monsters need to actually get nerfed, only if they're like very, very, very OP, and it's like greatly affecting the way the game is played. But not too many. We want some good units out there. We just don't want things that are like unusable. We want to be able to use the monsters that we summon. Especially the shiny stuff, right? So today we're going to do just that. We're going to do it a little bit differently because I do have a report card for Com2uS as well. So we'll take a look at that in a second, but today we're going to be going over. I'm going to try to do this a little bit faster than usual. Usually it takes forever, and I never want it to be super, super, super long. So we're going to try to do it a little bit faster. Disclaimer, some of these are based on my opinion. Generally, the 4 stars are based on my opinion. You guys probably know which ones are based on my opinion at this point, when no one else is really talking about these units. And I'm like, this unit needs to get buffed. You're like, Pago, the Light Phantom Thief. Yes, we get it. For years now, you've been wanting the Light Phantom Thief to get. I'm just saying, who's actually using him? Exactly. Some of these are based on viewer feedback. More of these are the LD5 units, like especially the stuff that I don't have, that I've never summoned, that I haven't had the experience to play with all the time, that maybe I've tried out for a video here or there over the past few years. But I don't have it on my account, so I can't really see how it works in the meta unless someone else is using it. And if other people aren't using it in the meta, that's probably a good indication that it needs to get buffed. But some of those are the things that are based on viewer feedback. Sometimes normal Nat 5s as well. But most of the time it's LD5s that I just don't have. I always pay attention to comments and feedback. However, some of your suggestions are dumb and should not be implemented. There's some that are like, this monster needs to get buffed. They're like, it's S tier. Well, it should be 5 S tier. No, it shouldn't. It's good. It's a good monster. It's something that I really want myself. No, it needs to be better. I'm like, oh my god. Some of the comments, guys. I try to read things with an open mind, but oh my god, some of the comments are. Some people just want things to be amazing, ridiculous with 4-star runes. Like, if I put 4-star white runes on it, I should be able to beat G3 players. Like, that's not realistic. Nerfing super rare LD5s to, no, that shouldn't say nerf, that should say buff. Buffing super rare LD5s to insane, unrealistic power levels just so you can win with terrible runes is not healthy for the overall game. RTA is weighted heavily, however, not everything needs to revolve around only RTA and nothing else. Some people don't play RTA. I know it's crazy to imagine, but some people, a decent amount of people actually don't play RTA because they just don't like it. More people have been playing RTA than before. But still a decent amount of people, like this season, I mean, because there's a lot more incentive to actually play with all those extra points that they're giving out, which was actually a good idea on Com2uS's part. But yeah, not everything needs to revolve specifically around RTA. If it's really good in other places, then we don't need to buff it for RTA because it's already good in other places. But anyway, that's just a disclaimer. I know people already, I see you already clicking the dislike button. I see you there. Okay, so let's take a look at... What did you expect was going to be the first one on the list, really? What did you guys expect? It's not that Christina's bad. It's just that she doesn't quite fit in the current meta. She is a good unit for shield, will, cleave, turn 2 kind of teams. However, there's not a whole lot. I mean, like, you could run this every so often. A shield, will, cleave kind of team. People do it every so often, like this and Lydia and things like that. However, it's just not as strong currently in either RTA or Arena or anything else. Even Guild Wars and Guild Siege, there's fire threats. She's going to get sniped. Quite literally sniped by the fire snipers sometimes. Pretty easily, pretty quickly. Just turn 2 wind cleave unit, attack type unit is not as strong as... just not strong in general. For a turn 2 cleave attack type unit, she is a strong unit. However, that type of unit really is not a thing. Really is very, very rarely used very rarely can be used in the current meta. We've been talking about this for years. I have a thing that I want to pop up. Giggity. I'll pop it up at the I'll pop it up at the end. Phrasing. And then we'll go over everything real quick after that. So, next one. Where am I main, by the way? Wind on Miyuji. She bad. That's all I gotta say. I mean, who's using her? When was the last time you saw anyone using her aside from like for a gimmick of like we are testing out the wind on Miyuji, and then the wind on Miyuji gets deruned and then goes in storage. Like that's about it. I pulled her, right? She's lit up here. When was the last time you saw me using the wind on Miyuji aside from the one test video we did on the wind on Miyuji? When was it, like when is other people use it? She just doesn't really do too much of anything. I don't quite love this karma. I feel like the AI knows to not use skills that they should be normally using when you put the karma on. These don't match up together, right? This is good with this skill, but then when she gets turns, she doesn't really do anything, right? She got the resistance leader. She has this attack gauge boost. So those two actually work decently. She's a support type unit. So these two plus support make sense together. But when she gets a turn, she got nothing to do on her turn. Not really. She doesn't cut in and do anything exciting. She just cuts in and then she's like, now what? And you're like, I nothing, I guess. I don't know. Really nothing. So yeah, yeah, karma needs to definitely change. Just in general, karma just needs to be better. And then, because she could be so strong between this resistance lead, when it actually decides to work, and this comeuppance passive, this has a lot of potential here. This doesn't make this. If this was so much stronger, if this was just something stronger that could cut in and stop the enemies from doing things like a strip into a stun or something like that, or something. Or like a cleanse and a defense buff or something. So many different things that are more supporty that this is just, it just doesn't make sense together. I'm getting too long-winded on this. Let's go on to the next one. The next one is, these are not in any specific order. Actually, they are in a kind of specific order. The next one is Camille. So I'm going with regular Nat 5s first, then LD Nat 5s, then we're going to talk about 4 stars, then we're going to talk about nerfs after that. So Camille, it's too easy to kill Camille nowadays. She really doesn't do. There's so much. You can kill her with bombs. You can kill her with Pungbeck. You can kill her with attack age reduction. You just keep reducing her attack age so she doesn't get a turn. You can kill so much. You can kill her with a single Skoggle hit. You can kill her with I'm even forgetting half the things. Destroy HP. There's just so much stuff to kill Camille with nowadays. She either gets attack age reduced or she gets bombed, or she gets, it's just, or even cocky, like, or any of those Onimushas. Camille used to be a fantastic unit for arena defense when everyone was using Zaros for offense, like Zaros and Lucian when they were the two main offenses. She was top tier arena defense unit. She is not quite the same anymore. Camille has needed it for a long time. We can move on. Actually, let's talk about Trinity real fast. I know we're not on the LDs yet, but Trinity definitely needs to be changed type at the very least, and then give her something else on here. Right? Trinity owners for the longest time, I have noticed a significant amount. Like, I know we're talking about like, oh, LD buff LDs. Everyone wants their LDs buffed. Everyone wants their LDs buffed. However, Trinity owners, for a long time, they've been like, and they have a good argument too, of why would you use Trinity when you can use Samoth? Good argument. I have no idea. The answer to that is, I would not use Trinity if I have a Samoth. I would use Samoth. So Trinity would be a shiny, and Trinity's cool looking, but I would still use Samoth because Samoth is more effective. Just period. He's just more effective. So yeah, just real quick while we're already on it. Next one is kind of a thing that we don't really ever talk about or ever think about or ever hear about or ever anything. Brandia, good old fire ice cream head. So she's got this. This is actually buffed. Was this buffed in the last balance patch? Because the light one was, but the light one got toxic, man. I even feel bad sometimes when I use it. I'm like, oh. Yeah, so this cycles attack age. That's potentially pretty nasty. The light one is pretty nasty with it. The light one, cycling the attack age for the light one who already does some nasty stuff with skill 3 is just nasty. I said nasty a lot, right? And then she does this to sleep, or this is like a crow, right? If it's immune to sleep, you can still get 50% more damage. She's good for big single target damage. She can be replaced by crow. She can be replaced by other like 3 stars even. It would just be cool for her to do something else that was a little bit more meta. I think Brandia could be could be a little bit more meta. But I feel like me saying that would piss off some of the people that like to use Brandy or had intended either have intentions to use Brandia in the future for like super fast dungeon teams. I'm getting too long-winded about this. Let's continue. Next ones that need to get buffed, in my opinion, and also based on user feedback, where are they? Oh, they're new. So one of these I actually haven't even gotten a chance to use. This Wind Mage. Fire Mage I think is fantastic. Dark Mage is pretty cool. Light Mage I think could be cooler. We got a chance to test her out, but we didn't see her with like super OP runes. Wasn't that the case? I'm kind of fuzzy on that, but I think that was the case. We didn't see her with like super OP runes. Fire Mage is cool. People use her every so often. Nana, I really don't get excited about. We're talking about Momo for right now. We're talking about Momo. This just takes way too long to stack. This takes way too long to stack. She's kind of the same thing as Christina, right? She increases her attack power 5% each whenever you attack an enemy, 5 more when attack lands a critical hit, attack power. This is just too long to stack for a unit. Like fire units, not fire units, wind units that need to be stacked to do extra damage. It's just the same thing. They basically just made a Christina 2.0 for the most part. They can do a bunch of damage eventually, but they basically just made a Christina 2.0. So good job, Comtuos. We're like, buff Christina, and they're like, how about we just give you another Christina? Like, no, that's not what we want. This one is just, I like where they started to go with this, where things revive. With the Soul Stones. However, I just don't think... I think that the easiest way to buff her would just be doing an attack power buff on here. Then she's just a better version of Galleon. She's just a better version of a Nat 4, and that's fair enough, right? In my opinion, that's fair enough. 116 base speed, too, so it's not hard to make her super fast. I think that'd be the easiest way, honestly, to buff her for Nana, but she doesn't kill anything herself, right? She's a support unit, so things need to die first for them to be revived. And generally, if you're killing things first, you're already in the spot where you most likely win anyway, so it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense there. But I like where Comtuos was going with this, as far as like their vision. It just still needs to be tweaked more. Some of these, I don't disagree with the vision. I just think that it's like, on paper it's cool, and then like in actual usage it's like this needs to be different. It's not quite working as the original vision was intended, right? So again, I don't disagree with the vision or what the like initially was, but it does still need some work. We talked about this girl, right? This one, I kind of like her, but I know that people are not too pleased with her. I think that this one definitely needs way more attention. This one, no, a little bit, right? This one a little bit. She does have potential. She's got a speed lead, which is pretty cool. She's got this increased duration of harmful effects granted on them by 1 turn each, absorbs attack bar. I think that this unit is actually pretty usable. I think that she's a little bit underrated, but based on, this is kind of another one of those that's like I have her on Europe, I think. But I think she's a decent unit. I just think that if you guys are saying you think that she needs something else, maybe something... You know what? It's the karma. I think that the karma is the issue. I think the karma is the issue here. The karma is the issue here. Again, it was an interesting idea, but maybe that's what it... Because these two skills are pretty good already. This at least makes sense together with a support unit, right? But yeah, I think the karma is the problem, honestly, for both of these. And then the light dark ones. This is just for where it's good, right? It's just niche. So it would be nice to see her being able to be used in more situations. And then this one again, it would be nice to see her being able to be used. This is a great unit for tanky guild siege defenses. Fantastic unit for tanky guild siege defenses. But it'd be cool to see her used in more things. Right? And again, this one is super niche. The Onmyujis are just... the Onimushas are just useful in more situations, just overall. And then the Onmyujis, these ones, are just more like, hey, pick them in niche situations, and that's about it. It's kind of crazy to think that the 4-star units are the stronger ones versus the 5-star units. But that's absolutely 100% the case, is that the 4-star units on Mujis versus Onimushas, the 4-star units are absolutely better than the 5-star units. Just absolutely better than the 5-star units. So the next one that we're going to talk about is the... oh, Bagel's underwater one. I know where his mind is. This guy, Borgnine. He is a set of Destroy Runes. That's it. He's a set of Destroy Runes. He's got good HP. He's an HP tank unit. He's a Destroy HP. But basically, he's a set of Destroy... He does more than one set of Destroy Runes worth. This leader skill doesn't really make his accuracy, but it doesn't make sense with what he really does and what he's really for. Yeah, it provokes, and he does a defense break, and it's a 1-turn defense break, and he's a set of Destroy Runes. Nat 5 should be more than a set of Destroy. I mean, everyone at this point should know that Borgnine is a little bit under. A little bit underwhelming, Bagel. That's an understatement. Okay. You could just replace him with a set of Destroy Runes. I said that a million times. Let's continue. What else do we have? Another water unit. So this one's kind of fallen out of meta. I also don't have him, but if I did have him, I don't know that I would really pick him in too many situations. I know people that have him enjoy using him in like Guild Wars or whatever, but like casual, I feel like a lot of casual players don't mind having him, like to use him. He has a very high HP. However, he's kind of just not very meta, this Chow. Every so often you can find a place to pick him and use him. He heals based on his passive. He can't be heal blocked. But there's just so many ways to just counter Chow. It's not like... He's really... again, the same thing with Chow and Camille. They're very similar units, and they heal themselves, and they have passives, and they're basically water HP bruisers, but they just aren't very meta right now. They kind of haven't been meta for a while. Ever since Fwa won $10,000 with Chow. After that, he kind of stopped being meta. If you guys shout out if you guys know what I'm talking about. Next one, another water one. Okay, I'm gonna try to get these. This thing always lasts so long. These videos. So Chandra, I don't think there's really not too many people asking for a Chandra buff. So maybe I'm alone on this one. Maybe I'm crazy. I just think that it'd be nice to use Chandra in more places. I am not a super huge fan of Chandra. I don't really care much either way. Counter's like, good, we won't. They're like, good, we will buff him then, if you don't care too much either way. He's nice in Guild Siege defense, but he's a Nat 5. It'd be nice for him to be a little bit more useful in other things, not just Guild Siege defense, right? And he's not even useful in like high-level Guild Siege defense, because everyone's already has counters to Chandra, so maybe Guild Siege offense every so often. He's really ended the dungeon leader skill. There's just a lot that doesn't make quite so much sense with Chandra. I would just prefer the fire one. I would prefer the wind one. I would prefer the lighter dark ones. I prefer all of those to Chandra. He's cool looking. I mean, he kind of looks like a budget Tigra from Thundercats, but hey man, I like Tigra from Thundercats. But anyway, yeah, I just think Chandra could definitely use a little something. Next one, already got a buff. In my opinion, still needs a little bit more. He does this the soul protection on himself, but I just think that Eladriel. I mean, who was hooray like very excited about the Eladriel buff when we got it? Not really anyone, right? They're like, oh, he's better. The Ariel buff was a way bigger difference than the Eladriel buff. The Ariel buff was like, that's a buff. Eladriel buff is like, okay, but that's not really. That didn't make him any meta or anything. What's the next one? Oh, the next one is also a wind one. I don't have this. Well, I have this on the Europe server account. Kashmir. Do I have Kashmir or I have Wind Ryu? I don't know which one I have, if I have Kashmir or the Wind Ryu. Oh my god, I can't even pay attention. So, we got the first skill, attack, power break, second skill, brand, third skill. This is kind of like a Daphnis, however, it will stop if it doesn't activate. Like, if it doesn't strip, defense break, then it will not do the hit nuke, right? So he does have a little bit more potential than Daphnis because he has higher base speed. Well, not even that much higher base speed. Doesn't Daphnis have 98 base speed, if I recall correctly? Let's see if I'm wrong or wrong. Let's find out. Yeah, it was 98 base speed. 834 attack power. And this guy's got, what, 845. Okay. And it's got a multi-hit as well. So it doesn't do that, like, pure damage to start. Like Daphnis does pure damage and then big nuke after that. so it doesn't. But well, it's similar to Daphnis. It's just he stops if he doesn't land one of his 3 things. I mean, the easiest way to change this to make it like, I mean, it could potentially be too good if they change. Well, easiest way to change this is to take the cooldown reset thing from the end off, and then just make it so he does all 3 hits regardless of anything else. That's the easiest way to just fix it and shut people up for a bit and see if that actually works, see if that actually makes him useful. So next things are the LD ones that we'll talk about. I know people are already smashing on the keyboard like, you didn't talk about this Nat 5. Leica needs a buff, and Leo needs a buff, and all that stuff. Leo got so much stronger just based on him being encountered the Fire Art Master and the Beast Riders and things like that. He's just like, Leo didn't change, just the meta changed and Leo became stronger. It's kind of funny how that works sometimes, right? Oh, we already talked about Trinity, because we always talk about Trinity. Like, Trinity still doesn't, it's 7 years. 7 years. Sometimes I just feel like these units are not going to get buffed. I feel like a broken record sometimes. Jara is great in, like, Guild Wars against things that revive. Jara is also the dungeon resistance leader skill. This is basically, just put no leader skill. Just take the leader skill off. Give her 500 extra speed. Maybe not 500 extra speed. She would turn cycle. She would lap everything. Oh my god. Yeah, 500 extra speed. Just make her 594 speed. I don't see a problem with that, Countess. I don't see a problem with that. They're like, okay, well, we'll do it then. No, she kills things. They don't revive. And she's got brand. She's really good for Light Rift Beast, and she's good against like revive things and like siege and things like that, or like arena offense or whatever, but not really a thing. This is basically no leader skill. So yeah, Jara has needed a buff for a while. I kind of like, people are in 2 ways about this Tashar. Tashar is a fantastic farmer. Since they changed this, he's also pretty decent for things in Labyrinth, but Tashar, not a super OP RTA thing. People get upset that he's not. Oh, Tashar is not good for RTA. Challenge accepted. Wait a second. So yeah. So I mean, people are gonna make comments about Tashar, but I think that at least Tashar is the SSSSS tier farmer now after a couple patches ago. Anyway. What else is next? I feel like I'm just a broken record sometimes, because some of these units are just things that I've been complaining about for a long time, like for a year. It's like it doesn't change. So this is again another one, like the Trinity, the Jara, the Laura. These are all things that people in the community have been complaining about. That Laura with the strip, right? Damage based on max HP, removes 1 beneficial effects, increases defensive all allies for 3 turns additionally. If it's stripped and stunned, if it's stripped and defense broke, if it's stripped and did something a little bit more on the aggressive side, would be better than stripping into a defense buff. Because, I mean, if you're stripping, then you're generally the aggressor, so you want, like, an attack power buff, or a defense break, or strip into a CC, or strip into attack gauge reduction. So this is just it's just aggressor versus aggressee, or the aggressee, the one being aggressed. Listen, you let me know what the correct answer for that is in the comments. But this makes more sense to do an aggressive thing instead of a defense buff. 3-turn defense buff is not bad. It just doesn't make sense being the one taking turn 1, stripping, and then what, right? Stripping into a silence, stripping into a defense break, stripping into a provoke, stripping into a stun, stripping into attack gauge reduction. All of those make more sense than the defense buff, which is like, if you are taking turn 1, that's not what you need. You don't need a defense buff. And if you do, what do you need a defense buff for? If you're taking turn 1 with I need a defense buff for Bulldozer, well, then you don't need the strip generally, right? So yeah, that's that for her. Another one. Let's take a look at another. Actually, we could have just stayed on light, right? These don't need to be in a specific order. I mean, you could argue all day that some of these LDs could use little tweaks. Like, even the ones that I'm not mentioning, some of them could use little tweaks here and there. Thebe is, didn't he get, I think he got even a buff not too long ago. He's just, it's a leader skill for only Guild War, right? And then he's just a tanky bruiser. Like, you could, there's other things that are tanky bruisers that you don't need an LD5 for. Like, I feel like LD5 should be a little bit more exciting than that. So we've mentioned him before, though. That's not anything new. What else do we have? We have this guy. Let's take a look at his awakened form because he's too short in his unawakened form. Like, wow, man, too short in his unawakened form. That's right. Nagong is the thing that you can use for arena defense 2 years ago. Not really so much even for arena, because at a certain point, there's just so many people that are like, I know how to counter this, I know how to counter this. Like, they just bring things that prevent revives. They bring Rocky, they bring the Wind Demon now, prevents revives. They just bring their Jara. But there's also increased cool time. And the Wind Demon just needs to be on the field to completely stop Nagong 100%. So, revives just in general are not very strong unless there's some kind of different mechanic. They may have to rethink the revive mechanic or something if they want to make revives meta, because revives are just not very strong right now. Aside from like Labyrinth, for a couple things in Labyrinth, right? If we take a look at this, like Nagong, Aladriel, the Water Mage, Nana, like all these things are revive things. People complain about Kraka too, even though the Kraka got a buff. Was it 2 patches ago, something like that? Kraka got a buff. But still people complain about Kraka. It's the revive thing. It's just people are not very excited with units that revive. So maybe if Comtos has to rethink what they want to do with this whole revive thing about like how to make revive meta. How to make revive meta, right? How to make it a little bit more exciting. They did kind of with the Water Demon. They kind of did a little cool little thing with the Water Demon. I know I didn't include him. Now he has kind of gotten a little bit more popular now, so I think people are just getting a little bit more used to using him now versus how they were doing before. So at least there's that. But if you guys think that the Water Demon could use a little tweak, that could be cool too. I've seen people use him effectively. It's just, again, not super meta. But yeah, this guy is basically just revive. And then if you take something that prevents revive, he's just nothing. He's just nothing. So, I'm going to put this on because I don't complain about this all the time. But I would love to see Celia have her old skill 2. I just want her to sleep. I just want her to sleep with skill 2, and that's about it. Base speed is fine. Passive is fine. I mean, there's people have figured out how to work around the passive. But I just wish she slept. I just wish she slept things. I just miss the old Celia. They nerfed her at some point. They nerfed her like 2 years ago, something like that. Her and the water one, her water sister, they have the same song, but yeah, this was better, and it would be cool to just have that back. That's all. I'm not asking for the world. I just want the skill 2 back. Okay, so next on the list for normal element 4 stars. I'm trying to make this fast. It's just not working, guys. I'm very sorry. Next on list for normal element 4, because I can't find these things. Death Knights. When was the last time we used Death Knights? I mean, this guy does pure damage, right? But, I mean, if you want to use pure damage, you could use something. You could use Ramagas. You could use other things. He's easy to skill up because you can get him from Guild Shop, but or not the Guild Magic Shop, not the Guild Shop where you spend guild points. The Guild Magic Shop, where like they also have runes and things like that, the pieces of whatever, you know where to get him. He just these guys in general are not very like, who's using Fedora? There's someone used gimmick Fedora like a couple seasons ago or whatever, like a nemesis kind of thing. Brian, no one's using. It's Revive, no one's using Brian. Conrad, no one's really using Conrad. Diaz, people only using Diaz for like beginner R5. Like these units are just not a thing, right? So it'd be great for them to actually be relevant at some point. They have a few transmogs as well, so it'd be cool to see those transmogs actually get use. Let's take a look at the next one. The next one is Poison Masters. So not all of them. This guy is actually pretty awesome. So the Poison Masters and the Dalseems, they're the same units. So we're talking about the Poison Masters. We're also talking about the Dalseems. This one is fine. This one is fine. I mean, he's a decent 4-star water damage dealer. He's actually not bad. The Wind one is just... Oh, this is the one that does continuous damage. So it's all based on continuous damage. This is just throws back continuous. This guy's so niche. He only throws back continuous damage. Here's the thing. I built him, and I completely forgot that I built him, like 6-starred him and whatever, and completely forgot about it, because after that, like, I just stopped using him entirely and put him in storage and forgot that he existed on my account. This guy is just like, nobody's using these guys. This one, at least, like, if you build him, you could definitely... I like to use this guy. Kamoon, Tion, or Konamiya, whatever, either way. And Kyle, or Water Dalsim, whatever. And I just like to use that for a Guild Siege team. It does fine. Does wonderful, right? You can't bring it into everything, but it still does pretty decently. This guy just needs to be more damage, right? He needs to be a little bit different, more damage. You give him a Guild content leader skill of, like, anything, and give him some more damage. That's basically it. This guy's super easy to fix. These guys need a little bit more than that. But, yeah. And I know you're thinking, like, oh, dragons, build them in, use them in dragons. Tried that. It's just not. It's just no, and no. You take a look at these guys next to the guy. I am surprised Capcom is not pissed off with ComSquads for screwing around with their units. Because, again, these are the same as the Dalsims. And these guys are just fart sandwiches, man. I'm telling you. This guy's fine. This guy's fine. This guy is... He definitely has a lot of potential for being better if they just tweak him, make him a little bit more damage, and a guild content leader skill. But these guys need a little bit more of... They're just... I'm sorry, Capcom. I had nothing to do with it. Anyway, moving on to this one. Again, we're talking about 4 stars now. You guys are already pissed off. They're like, I can't believe... You know, let's talk about this one because I found her. First 2 skills are fine. Resistance and guild. That's like so niche, but it's so niche. This one is just, this would be nice if it stripped and blocked beneficial effects, but then it's kind of like the Dark Beast Monk, isn't it? She still wouldn't do any damage, but that might make her too similar to the Dark Beast Monk, so I could see people getting pissed off about that. Strip and beneficial effect block, but this is just, it's just not. Like, I actually built her, I actually skilled her up on Asia's server, and it's just like, no. Not worth building. One of the newer, I mean, not new unit, but one of the newer units. But you could build this, you can use this, you can build this, you can use this. Like, all the other ones, you can actually use these units for respective content, right? But this one is just like, don't build this. This is the worst one, right? So if it's the worst one, we're going to talk about it. We're going to say it needs a buff because it's the worst one in the family. In reality, Kamto is going to buff all of the units in the family, and Niche is still going to be bad if they do that, right? This next one, Scarlett, not really too many people. First skill, second skill, perfectly fine. Guild content, leader skill. I mean, it's 38%. Yeah, it's 38% for guild content. I totally forgot about her leader skill, actually. And then this one is a defense break, single target, 1 turn defense break, and then destroy max HP. I think this has potential. If they did an AoE defense break, that would already fix her. That would already make her at least useful. Then she does a defense break and big damage on top of that. That would be the easiest way to just make Scarlett useful. Some of these units don't need much. Some of these units just need a little bit of tweaks here and there. Let's go. Oh, God. I don't know how to fix this fluffing one. This next one. Where is she? I can't even find her. Maybe I've blocked her out of my mind because she's just so nonsense. Yanhua. I hate this unit. I don't like this unit at all. This is just... I don't like this unit at all. She just needs... She needs everything. She needs Jesus. I don't know. She needs so much. Oh, this is one of the worst 4 stars in the game. Moving on. Yeah, like the other ones, like you could use this, you could use this, you could use this, you could use this. The other ones are usable, but the wind one is just like, don't build that. Don't build that for any reason. Next ones are the Gargoyles, which we've complained about before. 93 base speed is not very fun. This is just like the only Gargoyle that's even useful is the Malite. People will argue that you can use the Onyx. People like to argue with me about Onyx. Like, oh, Onyx is great. Guys are forgetting that there's only a 30% chance for him to actually turn into Stone State. And that's in a very, like, niche situation for, like, teams that really aren't even a thing anymore. So it's not really even. It's just a random chance to be useful. He's got a random chance to be niche, right? These guys are all like, when do you see anyone using these? The only one that people are using, I mean, you could kind of use this, like you could force him into things. It'd be better to just use like the Dark Pixie, or it'd be better to use the Fire Succubus or the Wind Werewolf even. You don't even know what the Wind Werewolf does, do you? He attacks and increases cooldown with his attack. But this guy actually has to get attacked and be in stone state to increase the cooldown of the thing that's attacking him. So there's just too many conditions for it to. You could make him work. It takes a little work to make him work. I know 93 base speed is kind of rough, right? It's always rough. But you could actually make him work. So if this did not get buffed, okay. He's still an LD4 though. I feel like. I mean, he's on the right path. It'd be. He's on the right path though. He's on the right path. You just need a little bit of bumpy bumps. This guy is pretty good. People already like to use him. These two would be nice for these to be actually usable. Would be nice for this one to be actually usable. So these are newer units. They were trying to get us to summon for them. We took the bait, and now we have gargoyles that don't do anything in storage. So it would be nice to actually be able to use these gargoyles. It would be nice to actually be able to. They even gave them bad base speed. Like, they could have given these guys 20 extra base speed, and we still wouldn't use them. 20 extra base speed, and we still wouldn't use them. Actually, we might. This guy might be a thing if you got 20 better base speed, though. I'm just saying. Anyway, what do we have next? Well, the Dark One, if he had 20 better base speed, and he also, his passive was, then you put him on Swift. But then he would still get turned. Well, whatever. Anyway, next ones are Blade Dancers. Mostly just these two. And this one, I feel like they already buffed her. This girl, I mean, you could. It's hard for wind units to compete with like all the good wind units. Like any 4-star's got to compete with Lucian, right? Or Copper for like damage dealers. It's hard for any wind 4-star to be relevant at all. And then if we're talking also including 5-stars like Shongpeng and Savannah, and some of these wind 5-stars are insane good, right? So it's hard for them to compete with that. But yeah, these ones could be. But you can use this one. This one's fantastic. This one's also good. Like, these ones do not need any buffs at all. These ones are fine. These ones, I mean, this one you can use if you want to, right? Not the most game brave. People would prefer, I think, using the Wind String Master versus Berenice. You know, her name doesn't need a buff at all. But the water and wind ones, they really, I mean, you don't really see anyone using them. We use them for like to test them out, and then they go in storage. Next one we actually haven't talked about in a while though. Next one is these Purées. So obviously these two are fantastic. These do not need buffs. Comp to us, these do not need buffs. Comp is going to be like, they need buffs? No. They don't need buffs. They are good. They don't need buffs. They don't need buffs. These ones are good. This one could be more meta, right? She was a thing that you could use every so often. Like, again, you could just use Lucian. You could just use Copper. So anything wind is going to have a hard time, is going to struggle, right? But she's a wind unit that does single target damage. So this is a this is a continuous damage as well. So she got a continuous damage. This one has a continuous damage. Nice. This one has a continuous damage. So we're very excited about all the continuous damage they have for skill 2. Single target continuous damage. Very nice. Very exciting for skill 2 for LD4s. But yeah, this is just a single target defense break and nuke. This was fantastic for speedrunning Giant Speed 10. We're not using Giant Speed 10 anymore. And also people are just using different teams that don't, like, she has no place in the meta. She used to be a fun unit. I built her. I had no regrets building her at first, years ago. Now she has no place, right? So now she's really not a thing unless you're speedrunning Giant Speed 10 and decided that Giant Speed 12 does not exist or something like that. I don't know. This Eva, I'm not a huge fan of Eva. I've built her on a few accounts. I'm like, she does a multi-hits, and she does more multi-hits. I feel like these don't even do that much damage, do they? Maybe we'll do another Eva test. You saw it on the other account, right? This one, I think she's pretty good against bosses like TOA bosses and things like that. But these three could use tweaks. These three could use little buffs, and no one would be upset and be like, oh my god, that's OP. I mean, little buffs. I'm not saying like crazy buffs. I'm not saying like this AoE defense breaks and 5 hits on everyone. That would be OP. So yeah, just give everyone AoEs. Kantos, just give all these purees. Just give them all AoEs, third skills. These ones have AoE third skills. That's, you know what? Is that why? Because these are all single targets. These are all single targets. That's why. Oh my god, could you imagine if they gave them all AoEs? They would have to reduce the damage. But that would be, as much as that was a joke at first, that's actually, they could not do a 5 hits and defense break every single time. They would have to nerf the damage and maybe take it down in the amount of hits. But that could definitely be a thing, is making these a little bit weaker versions of their current selves as far as skill 3s and just making them AoEs. As much as that was a joke that I just said at first, it actually is, that's actually a thing. Okay. That actually makes sense now that I think about it. So the next one, I'm sorry I'm making this so long. Next one, vampire. Well, some of the vampires in general. I mean, we already know Vertiheal is fantastic. Everyone uses Vertiheal for everything. Maybe not everything, but Liesel. We got the Water Joker buff. Maybe it's Liesel's time to shine, right? Liesel is really not in anything. It'd be cool to see Liesel actually get used. Argon is just, you don't really build him because there's just better. I mean, when Steel Fortress first came out, oh, you could use Argon for this. Okay. But then the Dark Vampire, they buffed the Dark Vampire. They buffed the Ling Ling. They buffed the Fire Lizard Man. So there's really no reason to use Argon anymore. Plus, then he needs, I mean, you can fuse skill ups for him pretty easily because there's 2 different vampires you can fuse. It's just, it would be nice to see him being used. It would be extra nice to see him being used. He didn't even get a chance to shine at any time in the game. In 7 years, he got no chance. So, and then some people complaining about some of the LD vampires. I don't have an LD vampire. I haven't really seen too much of them in the meta currently as far as really anything. I saw a couple of them in Siege defense. I'm trying to remember which. I think the Dark one for a Siege defense, a tiny bit. But yeah, these guys are really not too meta. So maybe vampires overall as just a overall family. What else do we have? The next, I feel like this is actually going to get buffed. Maybe I'm crazy. I am definitely crazy, but I feel like this is actually going to get buffed. These Undines. So Undines, nobody using these Undines. Nobody's using these Undines. They just put out transmogs for the Undines. Nobody's building them, nobody's using them, but Com2us made transmogs for them. So what does that tell me? I mean, that could just mean nothing, right? It's Com2us, it could mean nothing, but there are people that speculate that units that are getting transmogs are potentially units that are getting balanced in the next balance patch, and I think that's a fair assumption. I haven't been tracking personally, but I think that could be a valid, right? So none of these in the family are anything super OP right now. This was a thing back in the day. She's the most usable of all of them. She's the most usable. This one's just a reviver, you know. This one's a reviver too. So, you know, we also did a video on this not too long ago. But this one's not bad, actually. This Delphoy's not bad. Her base speed is only 96, but aside from that, she's not bad. She's got this cooldown. She's got this immunity cleanse, immunity heal. So she's like a Lulu, right? But she also increases cooldowns. She actually got me Guardian the first season of RTA. She got me Guardian. Not her specifically, like her, Annabelle, Fengyan, whatever. But she was a unit that I picked a decent amount of time in that. So it's a much different, like really? Yeah, it's a much different meta than it used to be. So I think that these definitely, the whole family could get buffed. The whole family could get buffed. No one's building these. They just got a transmog again. The next one, this is not a whole family thing. This is just a 1 unit thing. Where is he? This guy. So Jin the Light Ninja. First skill's whatever, it's fine. Second skill's fine. Damage according to attack speed. He is an attack type unit. He's got a speed leader skill. Makes sense. Just the sensation. That's basically it. It's just a AoE glancing hit. But this potentially could be a very cool unit if the sensation was changed. It's just not a very exciting skill at all. It's just not a very exciting skill at all. Yep, that's about it. Okay, next one. Oh, super easy one to change. It's taking longer to find some of these units than anything else. So Jojo, this could be just one extra continuous damage, right? So 2 continuous damage for 3 turns, and then make him an attack type unit. Done. Perfect. That's the Jojo buff. Super easy. Next one is, I can't believe this always takes so long. Why does it always take so long? Because it takes me 45 minutes to find every single unit. Next one is Lewis. Did we ever have... I think there was people that had ideas for how to buff Lewis, actually. But yeah, Lewis is just not very exciting. Always lands a crushing hit. I mean, the first 2 skills are fine, I guess. This is just a single target attack and stuns. Crushing hit, regardless of enemy's attributes, so it doesn't crit. And then this is just not exciting. This is just not an exciting skill. Long cooldown for skill 3 for an LD4. Excuse me. You know what they could do? They could just do this, but also immunity. I mean, just make it easy. Give the whole team invincibility and immunity. Invincibility for 1 turn, immunity for 2. No, invincibility 2 turns, immunity 2 turns. Call it a day. Doesn't even need to heal. Just that. He'd be usable. We can move on. We can just move on from there. Next one is... Right, but someone else, actually, one of you guys had a better idea for the buff for him. Fuko. So this is a unit Childish likes to use every so often. He likes to dust them off and be like, let's use Fuko. And then he goes right back in storage a couple days later. But yeah, this is just a shield when you're attacked, right? So that's about it. Well, actually, it's not when he's attacked. Shield every turn. It's not when he's attacked. He decreases attack speed when he's attacked. And then he's got this defense break here. Multi-hit defense break. Multi-hit speed break over here. Attack power, leader skill here. He's just not... And he's got bad base speed, right? So it's hard for a wind unit to be good. And also, he doesn't really do too much aside from... He's got a shield. I was going to say he has potential. I mean, anything has potential if you buff it, right? So, yeah, but he's just not a thing. He hasn't been a thing for a while. He was a thing in, like, early Necro teams, but that's about it. It'd be cool for him to see a buff. Nobody's building him. Nobody uses him. Nobody cares about him. Nobody loves him. Poor Fuko. Cato, okay, last couple ones for buffs. Cato, not a very exciting unit. Nobody uses him. Again, he's just a wind unit. He does single target. Skills on cooldown, right? He does, this is based on attack speed. To attack? Oh, no, it doesn't. It increases attack speed, but it is not based on its attack speed. This is based on his... No, this is based on his attack speed. Yeah. Increase according to attack speed. But this one is not based on... Wait, is this one? Yeah, okay, so this one... Okay, never mind. I got it wrong. This skill is based on his attack speed and buffs his attack power. It's not attack... Oh, my God. Buffs his speed. Listen, this one... We're going to take a Diet Pepsi break. Video sponsored by Diet... Okay. This buffs his attack speed. This does damage based on his attack speed. This buffs his attack speed. This does damage based on his attack speed. Now that we've figured that one out, now that Bagel's figured that... Because nobody uses him. Nobody uses either of these units, and that's why I don't know what they do. This guy at least has an AoE defense break, right? And they all do Sword of Supreme Skywolf. This guy actually has an AoE. This guy actually has an AoE, does extra damage based on attribute, etc., etc. But these guys just a single target. This increases cooltime. Yeah, increases cooltime. And this one does decrease attack bar. Yeah, decrease attack bar. But it's not like very exciting units. We really, I mean, people built Kaz 5-6 years ago and haven't really done anything with him since. There's absolutely no reason to build him when Stella exists. And that's that. This guy is just a single target. Cooldown. I mean, you could use a Dark Pixie. Dark Pixie's the easiest. You could use a, again, Wind Werewolf, Dark Pixie, Dark Fire Succubus. There's a lot of things that increase cooldowns, and that's not even including Nat 5s. So these two definitely could use some buffs. Nerfs. Let's talk about some nerfs. I think that there's only really a couple things that could be nerfed. This unit needs to get nerfed. I'm sorry. I know people are going to be pissed off at me. This unit, I first pick him in RTA. because he's that OP. This unit is better than most LD5s. This unit is better than most LD5s. There's no really two ways around it. You do this, you trap something that doesn't have immunity, you trap them in a scroll, and then you do this and you strip everything on the enemy's team, and then you attack, power buff, and speed buff your team. He's so strong. He cycles his own turns. He strips. He attack power buffs. He traps something where it's not even on the battlefield anymore. He's so good. There's no... This unit is just so strong. It's so ridiculously strong. He definitely needs a nerf. The next one... I feel like you just take the defense break off him and see if that is enough for this one. It's a little bit easier for this one because you just he was good before. That's the thing. He was good before. I liked him before he even got buffed, and then they buffed him to give him a defense break here, and then a more increased attack gauge on this as well. So he would still have the serious matter. He would still have the strip into a glancing hit. I feel like that would be fair. Just take the defense because it doesn't strip into a defense break. It defense breaks and then it strips. So just take the defense break off overall, and then Shung Pung is fine, and then he's in a good spot, right? You don't have to like nerf him to the ground. This one is definitely a first pick situation though. Like this is, I know people are like, oh, him or the Water Ryu first pick. It's like, in my opinion, Jogun is more of a first pick than the Water Ryu. Jogun is potentially scarier than the Water Ryu. Again, I have him. I summoned him recently. I've been using him. He is very, very strong. He's very strong. He's very strong. He is better than most LD5s. This is a ridiculous unit. Yeah, this is a ridiculous unit. This is a ridiculous unit. Next one, I don't know if I feel... So this is just things that a lot of the community feels like need to be nerfed. I don't know if I really feel like he need... If a nerf, because he should be good. I like that he's good. Maybe change this 25 to like 35 or something, right? So you guys caught that, right? I had to stop the recording for a second and think about it. I'm like, no. That would be a buff. We do not want to make him buffed. We want to make him nerfed. 35% would be he would counterattack in more situations then, which is not good. There would be less counters to him then. So we would want to make the number smaller and not bigger. So he counterattacks less and not more. I think that this is still a good unit. I think that there should be some new LD4, like new LD4 should be meta, right? People already know how to beat him. You just have to be prepared for fighting him. So if you're trying to climb and you're not prepared to fight a Kinky and you're trying to cleave and then you're like, oh, well, this is going to be an issue because now they picked the Kinky and I can't crit on him. You're going to have to be prepared for that, right? So there are counters to the Kinky. I've mentioned them in previous videos. The other Onimushas are already counters to him. Bombs. Fire Mage is a counter to him. Molong is a counter to him. Molong Ikari's has been a thing more this season than it was the last season, right? And that's partially thanks to Kinky. So, yeah, there's definitely some counters to him. I think that maybe... I'm going to say something that is going to piss people off, but I feel like the new LD4 should be strong. And I think that maybe we hold off on nerfing this unit and just see if more people just adapt to playing against him, to like understanding how to play against him, get a little bit more acclimated to playing against him instead of just being like, nope, let's nerf him. Or maybe like nerf this by like 5%, right? Decrease the number, not increase the number, because that would be a buff, and we don't want the buffs. But yeah, I've mentioned a few counters to him already. I mentioned counters in the previous videos as well. You just got to get used to playing against the Kinky. I have had a Kinky 1v3 me this season. I don't have one. He was the one that did it to me, which sucks, but it is. Why? I don't even remember what. I think maybe he just resisted everything. I think that was a situation where I had like things that could have countered him and then he resisted. I had that same thing happen with Leona. It's just they put high resistance on these things and things happen, right? So it sucks, but you just got to get used to playing against the Kinkies more. And then the next thing that I've seen people saying that they want to nerf is... Where is he? Is this guy who has been a big thing. He was a nothing. No one cared about him. And then they're like, Kamto's like, oh, let's buff him. And I'm like, oh, good, he's going to be everywhere in Siege now because he's got a leader skill, he's got a defense break, a random defense break. And then people at first were... I like how people always disagree with me. They're like, no, Bagel, you're wrong. He's not going to be in everywhere in Siege. People are still going to use Kamoon over him. You're so stupid, Bagel. And then Carsano's everywhere in Siege, and people are like, he needs a nerf now. Like, right. So I was right then. Okay. So I'm just making... No, I was still wrong somehow, but he's meta, but I was still somehow wrong. Got it. Anyway, Carsano. I think a little... Like he was, they did 3 buffs though. That's the thing. They did 3 buffs to this guy. Of course he's gonna be OP if you give him 3 buffs. The last balance patch they gave him 3 buffs. So yeah, anything is gonna be super strong if he was a decent before and then did pretty good damage, and then you give him 3 buffs. It's gonna be strong, right? They gave him a buff to this one. They gave him a leader skill. They gave him a 2-turn defense break instead of a 1-turn defense break, and then they gave him the the increase glancing hit is 70 now. It was 50 before, something like that. They buffed that part, so yeah, they gave him 3 different buffs. That's what happens when you give a unit 3 buffs. He becomes also 112 base speed too, which I kind of forgot about. So those are the units that I think need to be nerfed. There's not a lot that I think need to be nerfed. I think that some units, especially like LD5s and stuff, should be strong. I'm not holding my breath for this balance patch because I know the last one was mostly disappointing, if I recall correctly. And I was like super excited for it when it dropped, and I'm like, oh, and like that's generally how these balance patches are. It's like super excited about them, and then I'm like, oh, it's not exciting after the fact. Like, I'm excited during the video, and then after we end the video, I'm like, all these things that need to get buffed did not get buffed again. So, I'm just expecting Comtuas to not buff what needs to be buffed. But here's what I did. I did this. This is a Summoner's War Bounce Patch report card. So we have a little list. We go down the... Well, I don't know why I thought my finger was going to be long enough that you could... Never mind. Phrasing. So we go down the list, all those units, and we'll see what actually gets buffed in the balance patch, and then we'll grade Comtuas based on how they did with the balance patch, and if we feel like they did all the things that need to get buffed. Let me know in the comments what you think are the 5 units that... And I'll read them, and maybe Comtuas will even read them as well. The 5 units... That 5, not 350,000. Like, Bagel, you just did 350,000. Listen, that's true. I did do 350,000. But the 5 units that you would like to see buffed the most, I know people are gonna just pick their LDs regardless of if they're like super OP or not. They're gonna be like, I'd like to see Tian Lang buffed because he doesn't counter every single unit in the game. What would you like him to do? 50,000 base speed, AoE ignored defense. Based on his speed. Okay. Wonderful. that sounds like a great buff for Tian Lang, because he's not already OP. You guys do this. You guys do this where you're like pick OP things and then you're like they need to be better. I'm like, your runes need to be better. That's what needs to be better. Anyway, let me know the 5 things that you think should be buffed in the balance patch coming up, and I'll review your stupid answers. Anyway, that's it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you as always in the next one.